Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Nearly 90's. I'm your host, Bryce Cherney, and with me is my lovable co-host, Jonah.
What's up, guys?
And so, I'm just going to start this up right off the bat. We are going to be talking about Hulk. And just a little knowledge, not even knowledge, just some background on me. I fucking love Hulk. I love Spider-Man. But Hulk is I think he's like my underdog character that I just really love to get into. But what I'm going to try and do first, Jonah, is convince you to watch the Incredible Hulk show all the way through.
I mean, I don't know if you'd have to convince me that hard. It's been a while since I binged a show of that length. That's pretty long, right?
It's pretty long, and it also kind of has episodes like Shameless, where they're like 40-minute episodes.
I've never seen Shameless.
So Shameless has like hour-long episodes, like 50-minute episodes sometimes. Okay. It's not really in that realm, but it's kind of in that ballpark of like length time.
Okay.
I guess kind of just starting it off, like, first off, not only do you get to see a buffed out Lou Ferrigno painted green with a coconut fucking wig, man.
I have seen that borderline No Country for Old Men hairstylers. Is that what I'm thinking of? Am I thinking right? His hair's a little too neat. But anyways, yeah, it's just.
Anyways, I do think you'll get a kick out of every single one of these Hulk scenes. First off, I just need to tell you why I love this show. First off, I never connected with a character so much. I think the way that Bill Bixby portrays David Banner is.
Oh yeah, he's not Bruce Banner.
He's not Bruce Banner in this. He's David Banner.
Why did they change that again?
So the producers back in the 70s, they thought that Bruce was
it was a gay name, right?
Gay of a name.
Yeah, back then. Was that the 80s? You said
70s.
70s. Okay.
I think it was 79 the show started and then went into the 80s, but
yeah, at a time that was a stereotypical homosexual name, wasn't it?
I don't know if it really was. I don't want to be that guy to say yes, that was
we weren't even fucking born yet.
Exactly,
so.
But at least I do know that Lou Ferrigno and Stan Lee, they didn't agree with that. They're like, no, that's not a gay name. Also, the other thing could be they didn't want to do the classic comic trope of Peter Parker, Bruce Banner, Clark Kent. I do 2Ks when doing Clark Kent. I'm joking with you. But
I'm just trying to, yeah.
But that could be another reason why they didn't want to do that. The whole thing with this show, and I forget the producer / director that he directed a bunch of the episodes, but he was the main executive producer on this show.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy that actually convinced Bill Bixby to do this show. And the thing is he didn't want to do a comic book show. He wanted to do, I guess, something he said he wanted to do something real, and he didn't want to do a typical comic book show like that was going on. Shazam was very, very cheesy of a show in the 70s. I don't know if you heard
I remember that roughly. This Shazam. Yeah, wasn't it Captain Marvel at the time?
Yeah, Captain Marvel. I'm pretty sure it was called.
Yeah.
So even looking at that, and even looking at the 70s Spider-Man show, that was still kind of cheesy for the time. Well, not the Japanese one. But,
yeah, I really want to watch that one.
Dude,
but
we'll actually have to get into the Japanese Spider-Man, because I would love to do that too.
There's a guy, a plug I've been trying to get. He's the one who got me Kamen Rider, the full series. I asked him via, I think the only way I had to communicate was via email of his place across the country. I'm like, please, do you have Japanese Spider-Man? And he gave me some vague, it's not that simple, because I'm pretty sure it's not legal, but because I'm pretty sure he just burns DVDs and distributes them.
It's not that
simple. I'm pretty sure he just burns and distributes DVDs.
But let me talk to my friend. He loves the 70s show, or not the 70s, the
Japanese one,
the Japanese show. But just get back into the Incredible Hulk show. Not only do I think the reason this show works is because the executive producer, the same executive producer was there the whole time. And because of him, we kept Bill Bixby the whole time. We kept Lou Ferrigno the whole time. I think he's the reason that this show was as good as it was, because he directed the pilot episode, and that was such an amazing. Well, I don't know if you will, but please watch the the pilot episode with the commentary. Like, watch the first pilot episode and then watch it with the commentary.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm probably not gonna watch an original watch through, like my first initial watch through with commentary, but sure, I'll watch the second one.
Like, that's really the only one I would prefer you watch with commentary. I think I've listened to the commentary twice, and I just think what he's talking about and like what you actually see and what he's doing, like there's this one scene he talks about with Bill Bixby and one of the main female actresses in the movie. Her name's Elena. Movie, I call it a movie, the pilot episode.
Yeah,
but it's pretty much goddamn a movie
because it's a very long pilot, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of those like extra length ones.
Yeah. So there's something where he does where the way that David Banner is feeling in the scene, they have him cut off by like a wall. So like half of it is David Banner in a wall, and then the other half is like free sky and Elena. And I think like that is just like some brilliant filmmaking right there, just to show where both the characters are feeling at that moment, to being like, this character's like very hopeful, but David Banner in this moment is dreary and feeling like he's up against a wall and like he can't get anything right. That's the shit that I love about this show. And I think it doesn't fully carry on throughout the whole show, but goddamn, this show is amazing. And I think definitely all the TV movies, I think, do it for me. So, like, I think most of the seasons start off with a TV movie. So, like, the first season, they had a pilot episode, and then they had a TV movie. And then the second season, they had Bride of the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, God.
So, like, they kind of did, like, Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
That was kind of the thing they were going off of. But, like, it's just David Banner gets married. Like, that's all it is.
She doesn't Hulk out?
She doesn't Hulk out, but
okay.
It's all about dealing with him trying to, like, I don't want to spoil too much because it's a really good fucking movie, and it leads into season 3 very well.
It turns into a sitcom of why having a wife makes you Hulk out.
Oh, dude, I wish it was like that. See, the thing is like, she kind of, it's not that she makes him Hulk out, but she's a doctor like David Banner is in the show, and she's pretty much just trying to help him control his inner demons or whatever. Like, he doesn't want to tell him that he transforms into the Hulk, but he's trying to help her. Like, she does like visual like hypnosis where like you imagine yourself in like a plane or wherever the hell, and you try and confront that being or whatever you're trying to confront and cage it up or do whatever, and that mentally gets you kind of ready to deal with it when you actually open your eyes. It kind of makes sense in 70s terms, I guess, but it was really cool because it actually gave you a sense. You could see Bill Bixby, David Banner, and Lou Ferrigno like face to face with each other, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's something like you never get to see, and something that like even most of like the children when they were in the 70s, like Bill Bixby made sure not to show himself and the Hulk together.
Yeah.
To not ruin the illusion. The stuff like that is why I love this show. And like, even like after the show got canceled, and like, there's so many. Last thing before I'm pretty much gonna jump onto the TV movies of the Incredible Hulk just real quick.
Yeah.
But, dude, my favorite episode. It's a TV movie part. It's a part 1, part 2. It's called The First, and they bring in kind of like another Hulk monster, and that is the coolest fucking thing because this guy, he's older than David Banner, and he had it like, they call him Clive's monster because this Dr. Clive made this.
Are you sure you don't mean Clyde? Like
no,
Doctor.
It was Clive.
Dr. Jekyll. Oh, Clive. Okay.
It was Clive. I don't know. It might have been a slide reference to
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but pretty much this guy, Dr. Clive, makes a monster, and he kills a bunch of people, and that's like supposed to be the defining factor between the two Hulks.
Yeah.
One will kill and one won't, and that's something that they do bring up a lot, is that the Incredible Hulk won't kill. He'll hurt someone and he'll just run away and he'll tear the hell out of something.
He's like a confused child, but still has a conscience.
Exactly. And it actually does bring some really cool things, I think, because Lou Ferrigno, the way that he portrays it, with him being deaf and everything, like when someone's talking to him, he'll be like, and like, and that's because like he has to take out his hearing aids,
and you think that,
like he can't hear.
You think that he is adding something to the character when in reality he's like, the fuck did they just say?
That's the funny thing is really he's like, what, like, and he can't hear him. He might know what they're trying to say, but he doesn't really fully know what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that does add something to the Hulk. Is like, he can't truly understand you, but he can kind of understand you, and he'll kind of follow you if you like, come on, we need to get you away from this right now, like hide here. Like he'll do things like that, which I think is really cool. But so I kind of hated how the show ended, because pretty much they just kind of like just pulled all their budget and just canceled the show. Like they were like, oh, ratings were good and all this, but they're like, we didn't get the ratings we wanted in the last season, so we're gonna cut this. And that's really sad, because like even the executive producer, he's like, wait, let me just give him one final send off. Like they introduced David Banner having a sister, and that was actually gonna introduce She-Hulk into it, where like she needs a blood transfusion,
just like his cousin in the comics. Yeah,
so I thought that would have been a really cool way to end it off, where he's not alone in the universe anymore, and he is traveling with his sister around. So I thought that would have been a really not cheeky way, but like a kind of satisfying way of ending that. But with that being said, you can go.
Quick snack break.
We'll take a quick
I saw
five.
that candy bar was eyeing me across the table.
Like I said, dude, I love Hulk. I don't know if I've ever preferenced this, but clearly I've been talking this whole time. You've just been listening.
Now I'm munching.
All right, but so the TV movies for The Incredible Hulk, I fucking love. There are 3 of them in total. The first one is called The Return of the Incredible Hulk, and this one introduces Thor.
I've seen clips of Thor from that series.
It's fucking Bob Duncan from Good Luck Charlie.
Is that him when he was younger? Oh shit!
It's
I didn't
him
even
when
realize.
he's younger.
I can see it. But
When I watched it the first time, like I've watched Good Luck Charlie as a kid growing up, and then I finally found this DVD out in the atmosphere, put it in the DVD player. I'm like, is that fucking Bob from Bob's Bugs Be Gone? Wild. So
how the fuck do you even remember that? I watched that show growing up too. I don't fucking remember that deep of a reference.
I got a weird memory sometimes where I just remember the most useless shit.
Oh, I can follow you there.
But so him as Thor though is fucking amazing. And like, I mean, it's the 80s, and the way that they portray Thor in it is, I think, actually really cool. And I kind of wish they would have went with this in the live action, like, Marvel Cinematic Universe. They had, what's his name? His like, alter ego, fuck, I can't think of his name.
Thor's alter ego?
Thor has an alter ego in the comics.
Oh, yeah, he's like a cripple.
Yeah, so...
Oh, wait. They do a reference to that in one of the movies. They call him that.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. I can't remember his name.
I can't think of his... Donald Blake.
Yeah.
There's 2 characters. So Donald Blake goes up into the mountains. He's like... He felt really connected with Viking mythology and all this stuff, and he goes on a big expedition out into the mountains to try and find this sarcophagus or tomb of Thor.
Mm-hmm.
And he eventually, like, he feels something calling to him, so he... in the night, runs off by himself, finds the tomb, opens it up where he finds the skeleton of Thor, picks up the hammer, and
just becomes Thor?
He doesn't become Thor, but because pretty much that feeling was Odin kind of bringing him to Thor. So the thing that Thor needs to do is, he wasn't worthy enough to go into Valhalla. So
Yeah.
he's like in this weird limbo state where
He gets possessed by
he's
Thor
connected.
almost?
He's connected with the hammer, so
Huh.
he kind of like comes out of the hammer, and so Thor is a
Possesses
completely
him?
separate
Or
person.
does he possess him?
No,
Oh,
like
okay.
Donald Blake is like almost like the human guide for Thor to navigate through this universe. So it was kind of supposed to be, they were trying to make a Thor TV show.
Okay.
And so it was kind of supposed to be like a buddy cop show, kind of like Donald Blake, Thor, and they go on adventures together.
It's adventure time.
So, ultimately, I love the idea of that, though. Like, imagine that.
That's very original.
It's very original, and I like the idea of having Donald Blake be like this like guide for Thor, being like, all right, clearly you don't understand what
The world
makes the world is, or what makes a human, but like it over the course of the movie, like Donald Blake kind of shares his side of like Earth and like what that does, and like even Thor, like even he talks about like, do you know what it's like not like living really? Like I just live inside this hammer, dude, and whenever you call me out, that's the free time I have, and I love that. And it's such a powerful speech when you actually watch the movie, but I just also all the Hulk out scenes are really great too. Like, but this movie really does try and emphasis on Thor.
Yeah.
So it's a real great introduction. Sadly enough, he didn't get a TV show, but this does lead into David Banner then like kind of going off again, and he goes into this next movie called The Trial of the Incredible Hulk, which introduces Daredevil. And I don't know, have you seen anything of this?
That's with him wearing the original black suit, isn't it?
Original, like, weird, like, he's like a ninja almost.
It's because that's like not his OG suit. It's like in later comics they describe it and make it like his suit before he came up with the Daredevil suit.
Yeah, that's kind of what they were going for, because
Yeah.
I'm assuming they didn't have a budget to really make a Daredevil costume.
Yeah, they did that with the Netflix series too in season 1. It's pretty fitting and looks nice.
I think it looks nice in the movie.
Yeah.
I won't get too much into it just because I do actually like this movie. I like what it does for Daredevil. I think it's actually a really great stepping stone for they probably like the Daredevil movie when they were making that with Ben Affleck. I feel like they looked at this show or this TV movie and was like, all right, let's grab some of that stuff and let's do that in our movie. But I mean, there was a lot of Daredevil's another thing we really got to get into. 2003 Daredevil,
God.
Kind of underrated, but not really.
I guess underrated.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it later. But I do think there is some stepping grounds in this TV movie for that.
Better than Catwoman, but I don't know.
But
I don't know if I'd say it's like a hidden gem or underrated.
Well, maybe not underrated, but I do like the movie more than people do. So,
okay. I'll let you bring your case another time for that.
That's fair, and you can fight me all day on it. But I'll try and listen. I do hate the movie, but I love the movie too.
Okay.
The only other thing I want to bring up with the trial, this movie's called The Trial of the Incredible Hulk. I don't know if I mentioned that.
I don't think you did, no.
Pretty much like the Hulk has to go on like a trial. Well, David Banner does.
Yeah.
So it's really only like one scene. So it's really weird they call it The Trial of the Incredible Hulk. But it is actually the first cameo from Stan Lee. In this movie.
Nice.
And the last thing I want to talk about is Death of the Incredible Hulk. I'm not going to get too much into it.
Well, it's spoilers there.
Yeah, no, they were ready for it. But I do think this movie has the best looking Hulk. So throughout all of the seasons, you'll see the Hulk start looking better and better. And I think by the ending one, like in the beginning, his hair was always green.
Yeah.
By this last movie, they make his hair brown.
Oh, that's good,
and I
at
think
least.
that makes it a little bit more realistic, and it helps the
Why not
character.
black? Oh, no, his hair's brown. Like, the character's hair is brown in the
show.
So
I think that's why they went that way, but I would prefer black.
Yeah. Like, black with the little greenish tint in it is always how I imagine the Hulk.
Yeah, but, all right. I feel like I've talked your ear off about
The one that I haven't watched.
the one that you haven't watched. Now, do I make a pretty convincing argument on why you should watch this show?
I'll watch it. Your whole take here was trying to convince me to watch something where if you literally said, "Hey, watch this," I'd be like, "Yeah, okay."
He's like, "Oh, man,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
already down. Just give me the DVDs already."
Yeah, like I'll just watch it.
Okay, but I guess I should just kind of preference this. Hulk, Ang Lee's Hulk, man. All right, what do you think about it? What do you really think about this movie?
It's weird because like I don't mind the actual Hulk design and the whole like as weird as it is, like the CG, some people call it bad. I don't think it's bad. I think it's
really good, actually.
It's really good. It's just weird that they went with like a very
green. The green of
no,
the Hulk.
I was gonna say like the emphasis on like the muscliness of him, because like in the newer stuff. Well, I should say more Incredible Hulk, not Mark Ruffalo, but in like Incredible Hulk, there's a lot of emphasis on veiny and
muscle
bones, and the Ang Lee one is just very muscle massy. Like when he transforms and when he gets hit by bullets, there's a lot more emphasis on the CG of like his skin rippling and muscles flexing, as opposed to like, again, veins and bones and sweat. It's just very, again, like it's very muscly, fleshy, and I don't mind it. I think it's good, and also the CG is good. It's just it's very odd and different, but it's good.
It is very odd and different, but also this is the first time trying to bring the Hulk to CGI.
To CGI, yeah.
And I think, I don't know, do you remember the first Hulk out scene where he's like tearing up the office and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Most of that stuff was done practically, and they just added in the CGI Hulk. And I think that does wonders for like actually like making him feel like he's in the scene.
Yeah. If anything, the only thing that, well, not the only thing, God, there's a couple things. So it's just the vibe that they go for, I think, kills it, as opposed to like, the plot isn't that bad. It's a pretty standard comic book plot reimagining. The characters aren't anything that crazy or weird. It's just the vibe is, first of all, the way it looks, like the cinematography.
It's very somber.
It's fucking bland and somber looking as far as like the cinematography and the vibe of everything. And then they throw in the wacky comic book panel vibe that does no place being there.
It really doesn't. I really wish there was another edit of this movie where there wasn't any comic book panels and you just let it be a fucking cinematic movie and not try and make this weird like, comic book bundle.
It's trying to be somber, but then corny.
That's also the thing, is it's like sometimes and I'm wondering if that's just like Ang Lee not truly understanding the tone of this film.
Yeah, it's
like, I even heard on set, like, Eric Bana, like, said, like, they kept it very somber on set, even. Like, this was... Yeah. They were trying to make a very serious movie here.
Because also, for being so somber in vibe and the way the characters act, it's also so... Not vibrant and colorful, but it's very bright and generic in the way that it's shot and looks.
But also, when it's a nighttime shot... It's kind of hard to see everything.
Yeah.
Which is, like, it's that weird fucking, like, well, why aren't you putting the emphasis on the nighttime scenes if they're so fucking... Yeah, and I get it. It's probably just trying to hide CGI
but still, it's just the weird thing that's off-putting for me is, like, it's trying to be moody, but it doesn't look moody. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Like, the color grading and, like,
that's
all
what
that
I mean.
doesn't fully...
Visually, it does not match the vibe at all.
I get what you're saying, but personally, I love this movie out of any of, like, the Hulk movies we've seen.
I think Eric Bana does it good.
I think Eric Bana is truly underrated at his role. Again, now, I know it's kind of, the way he portrays him is really, somber, monotone.
Yeah.
But again, all right, so maybe...
he's a man who transforms into a monster and is trying to conceal it. I mean, not everything has to be...
So maybe I understand the character just a little bit more than other people. I read the movie adaptation of the book,
Yeah.
and that gives you a lot of insight into how Bruce is as a character. And I'm kind of sad that they cut out some of these scenes because, like, usually they use like an earlier version of the scripts when doing those movie adaptations. Like, it's pretty on key. Like it was pretty on key, but there was like a lot of things that they added in, like Atheon. That's Talbot, the blonde guy in the movie.
Yeah, yeah. He's like the military dickhead, right?
He's the military dickhead. Apparently, Atheon, his company, was watching over Bruce the whole time. Like,
yeah.
And his adopted mom was actually hired to look after him. And that's something you don't get. Like, there was a whole conversation between Bruce Banner's adopted mom and Talbot in the book. And that's just about, like, them, like, well, just make sure he doesn't get too mad or, like, all this stuff because I don't know, it was kind of weird with how they were monitoring him, and I don't know if I do like it, but it adds an interesting concept onto it where, like, well, they know that there's something wrong with this guy, but they don't know what.
Yeah.
And that does also add a little bit in the kind of just Bruce as a character again, just kind of circling back to that. He, in the book, his father makes him that way. So, as a kid, he's like 3 years old or something like that, or maybe a little bit younger. No, probably about 3 years old. But his dad realizes that, well, I passed this gene on to my son, and I got to cure him. So he tries to take a blood sample while he's sleeping and wakes up, and Bruce freaks out.
And it makes him that.
So, it's weird because he mutates.
Yeah.
He starts mutating and his joints unlock.
Yeah.
And like he starts like fucking his arms start extending and he starts becoming like they call it.
It was weird, yeah.
They call it Neanderthal like in the book.
Yeah.
Where he starts like morphing in a weird way. I know in the movie they kind of just show it as like green stuff kind of comes over him.
Yeah.
But they pretty much make it like his mom comes into the room, sees him all deformed and like faints. And then his father starts yelling at him and like, do you see what you just did to your mother? Don't ever do this again. And it's like, it's making him suppress that rage now. So whenever he gets angry or upset, he has to suppress that. And it kind of sets him up to like just this big build up to the Hulk. And like why the Hulk is who he is kind of like, it's kind of built from the comics too.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, because I was gonna say when that movie came out, did they do the thing in the comics set about about his father being a dick and
his father was abusive to him and killed his mother.
Yeah, like there's something I remember this arc in the comics at some point where they talk about like because in other parts in the comics, everyone wonders like, why the fuck is Bruce the one with his weird-ass anger issue when other people get gamma radiation and they're fine? And it's because deep down he has a very, very, very suppressed trauma from his father. And that's what makes the split personality of the Hulk.
Exactly, and I love that. And I think they portray it the best in this movie. Like, I don't think Edward Norton or Mark Ruffalo have really portrayed the Hulk in this way.
No, they don't get down into the deep shit of that at all.
And I think, again, like maybe this isn't what the Hulk's missing, but I feel like that's what the Hulk's missing is just like that little bit of like, I got something wrong with me that's like trauma. Like I have legit trauma here that created the Hulk.
Some people don't like when you get too in depth with that stuff, and then there's other people that really like an explanation for everything and a deeper understanding and explanation.
Exactly.
It's like the what is it? Like the serial killer thing, or like when you're watching a slasher movie, some people might actually like Michael Myers with a in-depth backstory. Some people are like, okay, that fucking sucks. Just make him a mysterious killer.
Because it ruins the facade of Michael Myers.
And it also ruins your imagination getting to run wild with your own theory. But that's just, it's a coin toss. Like, some people are going to hate it, some people are going to love it.
Exactly.
But I like explaining that the Hulk is more than just like an inexplainable
mutation.
An inexplainable rage to hide and not something more in depth.
And I mean, like, and I know this is something the 70s shows always talked about. Like, it even starts off with this. It's like everyone has their own inner rage, which is fair. And it's like, okay, this is just the personification of everyone's inner rage. And that's what Lou Ferrigno's Hulk is. But it's a little bit more different in the comics, where this is actually like a second personality to Bruce.
Yeah.
Where the Hulk is actually almost like its own being, just living inside Bruce, hating Bruce because Bruce is puny. Bruce won't fight back. But the Hulk always will fight back, and he doesn't, and he'll lash out. He'll do the things that Bruce won't do, which I love that. That's what I think makes the Hulk and Bruce Banner compelling to me.
Personally, I think Eric Bana's Bruce Banner Hulk dynamic is the best of all of them.
Absolutely.
The thing is, like, Edward Norton's one is, I mean, technically they're the same as Mark Ruffalo's, but whatever, fuck that.
I think right now we can consider two different
ones. Yeah, but like when Edward Norton did his, there's not really any kind of explanation other than it just being a blind rage monster to hide and maybe hone, but then Mark Ruffalo's, I think it's more implied that it's a way more simple, not as fucked up, but it's just implied that the Hulk deep down is basically the mindset of a child that was just born when he developed him, and it's basically they imply that the Hulk's a big, giant mutated baby that doesn't know what he's doing. He's trampling around, he's causing temper tantrums, and then when he's released for years, he develops his brain to be, I mean, we see him in Thor Ragnarok, where he's like, I've been the Hulk straight 3 years now, and now I'm kind of the mind of a small child, not a baby, so I can talk and make full sentences. I don't trash everything all the time, but I still have my moments.
Right.
Which, that's an interesting take.
Although it is interesting, but I don't know if it's as interesting as, like, any of the other portrayals.
No, it's certainly not a dark take on it.
And I don't think it generally needs to be dark, but, I mean, I guess when you're dealing with, like, something, I guess, is like the Hulk, where he's just straight anger, well, you kind of do need a little bit of that, like, aspect of it. I mean, you can make it comedic and fun, like, not comedic, but you can make it fun and, like, yeah, let's see the Hulk fucking smash this fucking tank or, you know, take down this guy.
Have the comedic moment of he catches the rocket in his hand or something.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you could do stuff like that, which is funny and doesn't make sense, and that's what makes you laugh about it. But,
where he bites the tip off the warhead in that one scene.
Absolutely.
Spits it back at the helicopter.
And I think that's like a really nice, like, I fucking love that moment in the 2003 movie. Honestly, I love all of the Hulk out scenes, but actually him running away and, like, dealing with the fucking army and the military
also
in the desert.
The detail of that last transformation, or not last, the one in the city where he turns back into Bruce with all the sweat, that's so interesting.
I love how they can, and see, I think people can, like, think it's like water weight, like he's just filled up with water weight.
It's the mass
I like
amount
to
of
think it's
liquid.
just, the Hulk is probably just a big sweaty person as it is. I like to think that's just all the sweat dripping off of the Hulk as he's transforming back.
I just think it's just the mass amount of just liquid in general, sweat, water, and everything that would just disperse
it needs to go somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not, you're just not going to shrink back and see, and I love that they portray him as this, like, when he transforms back, he's sweaty. He's nasty.
He looks gross.
He looks gross. He looks like he just fucking been through a fucking marathon.
Yeah.
And just can't catch his breath. Like, I love that they do that. And they kind of do that in Edward Norton's, but they don't really commit to it.
They go a different route.
They go a little bit of a different route where he kind of just passes out.
Oh,
and then wakes up.
I just think of the bed scene with, like, the bones changing
that's
size
also,
and all that. Yeah. And a slow burn pain that you don't typically see in the other versions. But we'll get to that, yeah.
Also, do you believe that the Hulk, like, is that just like a thing, though, that the Hulk just can't have sex? Like, I don't know, like, David Banner definitely had a lot of sex in the 70s show. Like, I'm going to be honest, like, that man is banging chicks.
Well, the older ones, it's all based on rage. The newer ones, it's based on, like, a heart rate excitement thing.
I guess you're right. Well, I don't think in 2003's, because I feel like it's a little bit of like it could be all of your emotions. Like you can be getting excited, you could be, well, I mean, I guess that's also. So I guess it does.
I think it's just implied.
You're right.
I think
Forget
it's,
what I said.
I think it's implied that like just the excitement and the adrenaline in the moment is dangerous. Is all they're implying with that shit.
If that sparks up the heart rate, either way, the Hulk doesn't know at the moment. He just feels your heart rate pumping up.
He's
and
getting fucking hyped, yeah.
And either way, he can take either emotion and transform that into anger.
Yeah.
Which is something that Ang Lee talked about. So with the first Hulk transformation, he's talking about being angry and confused, and like the way I portrayed it when I watched the commentary for the Ang Lee movie. So I kind of like, it was really interesting hearing him talk about portraying that first scene. Like he's like, oh, well, I like to think that the Hulk is feeding off these different emotions of, like, confusion and anger and, like, this weird kind of maybe sadness, too. And he's, like, he's using that all just to build it up into anger so that he can release himself.
Yeah.
I love that idea. But, what do you think about the Hulk dogs? All right, we got to talk about the Hulk dogs.
I like that fight scene, I'm going to be real.
I fucking love that
I love that scene where it's like, aren't they, like, they're pit bull-esque.
It's like there's a pit bull, there's a poodle, and there might be like a schnauzer or something like that.
Something where, I don't know, I like how visceral it is with the very heavy, like, the Foley with all the thudding and it just fucking ragdolling him around.
Right? And like, he'll fucking just grab a log and just start beating the fuck out of him. He'll smash one on a fucking car and rip it the fuck open. Like,
yeah.
I mean, they couldn't show blood, but
yeah, I mean,
if they could, that would be... That's brutal.
That was a really good fight scene. I enjoyed it.
When the dog fucking latches onto his fucking shoulder and just fucking rips his jaw open. I fucking love that scene. Do you know that Ang Lee wanted that scene longer?
Really?
And if he wanted it the length that he intended,
would have been really fucked up.
It would have been. The price was over. Like it would have been like 500 mil just
Holy
for the
shit.
VFX for that scene.
Holy shit.
I'm like, holy fuck. But, I mean, we didn't even talk about David Banner in this movie. Like, his dad.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I guess, to be
where
honest.
they swapped him out with the Absorbing Man as far as powers and
like,
backstory. Well, not backstory, but...
Do you prefer that they did that? Like, actually giving...
I mean...
Absorbing Man like an actual kind of character rather than him just being like, I'm just a thug.
If anything, I don't know if I would have minded. I think honestly, you could have wrote him as, for the most part, just being like an electric villain for that final fight scene, because he doesn't do a lot as far as fight scenes up until that point.
Do you kind of remember the whole kind of fight scene with the Absorbing Man and the Hulk in that
how
movie?
he bites down on the giant cable, and then there's the fight in the sky, and then it leads into the water.
Yeah. And I like the idea of having him switch into different, like, having him be a rock man,
he was a rock,
be a water man, too.
Yeah.
Like, I like the idea of that. I do like that if they would have just kept him as an electric villain, just keep him as the electric villain.
Exactly. They could have simplified it.
They did that in the 90's Hulk show, which we didn't really actually talk about. That might be a topic for another time.
Yeah.
There was an electric villain kind of like that in the Hulk show, so I would have been fine with that. But I do like that they gave him, like, the Absorbing Man powers, but his powers are uncontrollable, and he needs Bruce's strength to control his powers.
Yeah.
I like the idea of that. And in the book, when they finally get into the water and he becomes, like, a water man and like, keeps him underwater, freezes the water, all that stuff, at that point in the book, it's actually more of like a mind battle between Bruce and David. Like, it's not like they try and like visualize it.
It doesn't work as well,
and it really doesn't work. But in the book, it's really cool because they're just having this like pretty much back and forth conversation of like, I need this power, and he's like, you don't
go ahead.
You don't want this power.
Yeah, you
that
don't
I have.
want it.
And then again, like, it ends with the Hulk screaming out, take it all.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of that, where, I mean, he absorbs too much power and dies, but, I mean, pretty much that big bubble that you're seeing, at least what I conceptualize it as in the movie, that's just his brain. That's just his brain just
about to
like
explode from
it's
too
like,
much.
holy fuck, man, this is too much power. And I love the idea of that. And I love that even if they ended the movie off just right after they shoot a nuke at that giant bubble.
I forgot
like,
that they shoot a missile at it.
They're just like, honestly, we gotta end
go
this movie.
nuclear, Davy Crockett.
we gotta end this movie, guys. Shoot a nuke. Bang. But David, so actually apparently I guess the water saves Bruce Banner.
Yeah,
Like apparently I guess that's what happens. People think like I know I don't know if there's a big debate on it, but there's been kind of a debate if like was he Hulk and then transformed back, like
the Hulk saved him, whatever was left. Yeah.
In the book, he's already transformed back. Like he gave all of his Hulk power up.
Yeah.
And the explosion happens, and it pushes it all kind of back into him.
Yeah.
In the water. But I love how they portray it in the movie because in that moment, he's thinking about the only time that his father was ever good to him. And that's what he likes to think of his father as. And it's just his father hugging him goodnight and saying, I love you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's wild that even after everything you've been through with your father, you still think of your father like this. And like, and that might even start to go into like the trauma, like, or like, you know, what's that called? Stockholm syndrome, where like,
yeah.
Like you still love this man even though he beat you or something like that.
It's like any love for a parent, even if they're a shitty parent.
And I love that like that's just how it kind of ends, and then he's off in fucking
whatever
South
country
America.
he goes to. Yeah, at the end.
So and it's weird that it's kind of like the 2008 one is kind of a soft reboot because it starts in South America.
That was so off-putting when they started that way.
And
for the new one.
Again, it's like, even when I'm like watching this, I'm like, no, this is a new movie.
Yeah, because when I watched it, I thought, like, is this like just like a sequel with a recast?
That's absolutely what I thought. But then again, they redid the origin story, so it's
yeah,
like
it's not.
It's not. But they still.
It's obviously just recycled script.
I'm wondering if they
parts.
kind of took the X-Men route with it, where it's if you kind of remember the last movie, you're good for this one.
It's something like that. I think it's probably just recycled script parts from a potential sequel or something.
And I do remember the sequel for. I know I've been talking about this movie too fucking long, but the sequel was gonna add the Abomination and the Leader. So
the
that
leader
was
that we
gonna
still never got, even in the other one that they
like,
imply that he's
real
going to be a
fucking
villain.
bullshit.
And now Abomination's finally back in the other ones, even though he's not really the same.
Whatever. I'm mad that they fucking did that to Abomination. Like, you have a really cool, interesting new design for Abomination,
and then you got rid of it.
Fucking get rid of it.
Yeah. So I guess we can transition into the Incredible Hulk.
Absolutely.
That Abomination look is so fucking cool. It's like a giant. It's like a giant Hulkified zombie.
Exactly.
And it's so cool.
The spine thing is what gets me.
Yes.
I love that design because
also, like, they could have given him the fins to an extent, and it would have looked good too. Because they scrapped that as like a final last call.
Have you heard why? Because they thought the Hulk would bite him off.
That's fucking stupid.
But like, why?
He ripped out his
not?
fucking bones and used everything. Yeah, he used everything else to his advantage. Why not just fucking give him the fin ears
fucking
and
rip
him
off his ear and spit it in his eye or something?
Yeah,
That'd
make
be
it part of the fight. Yeah.
Like, maybe it was because it might be too brutal at that point, but you're also pulling out his fucking
at the end, he pulled out his elbow bone and stabbed him with it. I'm pretty sure it was already brutal enough. Well, I'm not to say it was brutal enough. I'm saying no one would have batted an eye if he ripped off an ear, too.
Okay, so I do think this thing is really cool. So, in the first, in Ang Lee's movie, Ang Lee did the motion capture for the Hulk.
Someone else did it for the Incredible Hulk.
So Eric Bana actually provided the, like, he would just kind of be in like the office and he'd like, oh, like, well, how would Hulk act in this scene? And one of the biggest ones is like after the Hulk gets punched or like thrown by the Abomination, he's getting up and he's like, whoa, stumbles back. They showed Eric Bana's footage, or not Eric Bana's, Edward Norton's footage, and then they show the actual movie. And it's like, okay, I see what they're trying to do there. They're trying to give Edward Norton's inflictions and like what he would do in the scene to the CGI model, which is really cool. And it kind of helps him feel more like Edward Norton. But again, I don't think he looks like Edward Norton as the Hulk.
No, which I don't have a problem with.
I don't.
I don't think they're ever like. For some reason, all the other, well, I mean, not the original
I
one,
think-
but like most of the adaptations go for like, oh, there's a resemblance. Like it doesn't need to resemble
It
them.
really doesn't need to, but also, I think they did that in Eric Bana's. Like, I don't think people preference that enough. Is like, the Hulk, like Eric Bana's Hulk still looks like Eric Bana.
Yeah.
And then in the Edward Norton's doesn't look like Edward Norton, but then in Mark Ruffalo's,
it looks
like,
just like him, yeah.
like absolutely like him. So I don't know why people are kind of complaining that like no one else did it before Mark Ruffalo. But yeah, the story for Incredible Hulk though, I mean, it's not bad, but definitely you can tell they're using the formula from Iron Man 1 or whatever, you know, like that's clearly their formula, like have them face off against a big bad at the end that resembles the main character.
They do that way beyond that. Even the Phase 1 stuff, the
Right.
clone like reskin
Like
villain.
it's just classic, but I do think that the 2008 one is different enough in what they're doing that the movie kind of still feels fresh. I think by like other Marvel Cinematic Universe standards, like this movie feels different because they were still trying to figure out the universe.
Yeah, because there was still a level of original in it since
Absolutely.
it was the first steps.
And man, I thought we were gonna see the Hulkbuster in this movie. Like,
Oh, because of the Stark Tech stuff.
there was a Stark Tech. I thought that, and then in the trailers for this movie, you see Tony Stark.
I don't remember the trailers if I'm being honest.
So in the
but-
trailers, you see Tony Stark talking to fucking General Ross.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wild. We're gonna see
That-
fucking Iron
that
Man
would
go
have
up
been-
against Hulk.
That would have been such a different take because that was still 2010, 11, was it?
2008.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It
It came out almost right after Iron Man, didn't it?
Yeah.
But if it would have been Hulkbuster then, I imagine it would have been so much less fluid in the way
And
that
it
it
would
moves.
have been-
It would have been so much more mechanical, maybe even something Transformers-esque.
Right, and you know, I bet you they probably did have the idea to do the Hulkbuster thing. You want to know why? Because I played the video game for the Incredible Hulk.
Is it in there?
And in the video game, they have a Hulkbuster. Well, not really. They have like a Hulkbuster, but it's all gray.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's like, it was like an issued thing for the military.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Iron Man gave them.
Which no one would buy in the movies.
No
with
one
the way
would
that he
buy
is.
that. So it would definitely have to be Iron Man in that scene, but
Just have War Machine take on Hulk.
that would
would've
be
been cool.
interesting. That would be pretty cool. I mean, I feel like putting War Machine up against the Incredible Hulk would be pretty fucking cool.
It'd be cool, but he still wouldn't stand a chance. He
wouldn't.
he would fucking unload him with missiles and miniguns and whatever, but it would just tickle his nuts in the end.
What's your favorite Hulk out scene in this movie?
In the Edward Norton
Yeah.
one, the Incredible Hulk, probably just the actual transformation on the bed is really, really
That's
good.
really cool.
On the medical, it's not the bed. What do you even call
Like
it?
that where they're trying to give him the serum
yeah,
or whatever.
and when they're testing it and they're trying to do the slow transformation, that's like the best transformation. The best Hulk out scene, I think, is just the end with Abomination.
You think? See, unpopular opinion,
The military scene.
I like
Or-
the scene where they're at the library or wherever where he's in the overpass and they
that's
smoke it out or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I like that scene just because
The
I like,
organ,
I
where they're
like-
playing the organ with the
right?
theme.
I
when
love
he
the
Hulks out.
theme, and then you add a fucking Blonsky, straight man.
That was
fucking
really good. I forgot
sprinting
about
and
that.
Fucking fighting him, just taking him on one by one as a human.
That was really sick. I totally forgot about that.
I mean, again, he does get kicked in the fucking face.
I fucking loved that scene so much.
So fucking hilarious.
It was so fucking brutal, and I'm so surprised that they like kept even that in because it was so
Right.
really, really brutal.
like, and then seeing him afterwards, just fucked up.
The fucking like high speed ragdoll into the tree.
Like, oof. And then it's just, they didn't even show you. It was just a blurry, and then you just see blood all over his face, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this man's not going to survive.
I just think that the final fight between Hulk and Abomination.
I get it.
It's probably like one of the most comic book, not to say accurate, but one of the most just comic booky fight scenes in any comic book movie, because it's just straight up fucking super powered dudes punching the fuck out of each other. There's some unique moments with the creative things with weapons that they use and the creativity and the way they fight, but then it's also very brutal fist fight.
Exactly, and that's something that I think, like, even though I haven't, like, read a lot of the Hulk comic books, some that I've gotten like a big magazine of, like, Marvel comics, so it would be, like, a bunch of different Marvel comics in one.
Yeah.
One of them was a Hulk one, and it was, like, the Abomination's in a cave, and then, like, Hulk goes out there to try and, like, help him out, and then, like, he turns into the Hulk and, like, has to just fight Abomination, and that was the whole issue. And I was like, that's what I remember as a kid, and that's what was in the fucking that was what was in the movie, and I love that. I mean, again, he didn't look like the Abomination, but also I don't think he needed to. Like
no.
Like, I think the name speaks for itself. He doesn't have to look like a fucking weird toad or something like that.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be a fucking abomination.
A literal abomination, yeah.
I like the idea that they use the super soldier serum, and that's what makes him the Abomination.
Yeah. Gosh, he's such a good design, and also just a good villain in that movie.
Absolutely. Like, just the fact, I mean, he does kind of just want more power, but...
Yeah, but there's also, they don't do a great job of explaining his struggle in the movie. You have to look a little deeper and understand it, because, like, they're not very in your face about what he's, like, struggling with, and then it kind of gets overlapped by just this generic I want power. But, like, when he's introduced, he's like, they very subtle lines, but they just kind of go under the radar of, like, oh, you're the oldest guy in this battalion.
Exactly.
And, oh, you couldn't catch him the first time. I'll get a younger guy to go do it. A more spry young soldier to do it. And he's like, motherfucker, no. Like, I was the best of the best. And he's like, yeah, sure you were, buddy. I'm getting someone else. Like, look, motherfucker. He's like, I
39.
want this.
Yeah, I remember the conversation between him and General Ross where he's like, yeah, I'm 39. It's like, you should be a fucking lieutenant or something or whatever the hell.
And he just keeps making him more insecure about the fact that he can't do this. That he wants to keep pushing himself to be able to do it.
And it's real interesting because, like, General Ross in this movie is a villain. And it's weird seeing him be like, let me help you out with that.
Yeah.
He's like, this is a super soldier program that's definitely been put on ice. Legit fucking ice. So I don't know why.
Line.
But yeah, I do love, at least... I love Abomination in this movie. I think it was probably the best villain you could have given in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to start off with.
And also just brutal for its time before they got into the very corny MCU stuff. Like, he's fucking backhanding civilians, like, lethally just
you see, like, him toss 5 people at once.
Just a Hulk-sized limp dick backhand just swiping 3 people.
Holy
dead.
Fuck, dude, we're never going to see that again.
It's so fucked up, but it's so, like, there's just something where it's, like, a visceral violence that it's like, this is so fucked up. Maybe our brains are just, at least my brain is too fried from seeing too many movies, and especially violent movies, where just, like, it's almost like a little, like, a satisfying tick when something just brutal happens on screen.
Dude, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
I get what you mean. Oh, dude, and you want to know what's funny? Is there was actually a rumor going around the internet that Spider-Man cameoed in this movie, and it was like a real split second, and I tried looking for it a bunch of the times, and apparently it was in one of the shots where this guy's like looking at the Abomination and a car fucking falls behind him, and he's like, ugh.
Dude, I saw a community of people that claimed that there was a Thor reference in this movie when he's fucking out in the thunderstorm claiming that you see Mjolnir fly through the sky.
Bullshit.
It's the fucking, remember when he throws a rock in that cave? And people claim that in that scene you can see Thor's hammer soar through the sky when the lightning strikes. It's just the rock. It's just a fucking rock way miles in the distance because he's because he just fucking threw a boulder 20 miles because he's the fucking Hulk.
And you're gonna see it fucking fall in the background.
It's not Thor's hammer. It's literally the rock he just threw.
I guess now bringing up that scene, that is all right. The Hulk looked the best in that scene.
That was really
with
good,
the
yeah.
rain actually hitting him. Like he actually felt like he was in the scene.
Yeah.
Comparatively to like most of that movie, I don't feel he was like. I don't know, like.
He didn't feel as.
I think it's because they added so many CGI elements, like him kicking, like the cars. That was all CGI or something like that. You never felt like he was actually doing that. Where like in Ang Lee's, like they did the practical effects too. With
the thing is, it's badass, but you don't feel as there when there's a human character standing next to him.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that does say something about this movie comparatively to Ang Lee's. But, I mean, again, I still do love this movie, though, even for what it is. Like, I remember even going to the theaters. I even had, like, my Hulk toy. I was, 8 at the time?
The Hulk gloves.
Like, no, I had just a straight, like, whatever, it was just, like, one of the toys, like, that came out with the movie. I stuffed it in my pocket, went into the movie theater, and pulled it out, and I'm like, this is fucking badass.
When I was younger, I had the toy of the Incredible Hulk with one of the military trucks, where it's like the one where it's like, it's so fucking stupid, because I remember losing the truck for it, but like, it's supposed to be, the figure is shaped like hunched over as if he's grabbing, as if he's supposed to be smashing the truck, and I lost the truck in like fucking 10 days, and then for years I just had this hunched over weird Hulk toy.
That looks like he's about to get like taken from the behind.
Yeah, like he's about to get Hulk back shots. I remember having an Abomination toy too. So
yeah, dude, I remember actually spending a lot of money on the Incredible Hulk toys. Like,
dude, I had Hulk gloves as a kid. Have you seen that they like pussyfied them now, and they're just these tiny little, like made out of different material, and you can't actually hit a kid with it and give him a concussion now.
No, you can't do that now.
Lame.
It's real bullshit. But do you want to know my obsession with at least just collecting the Hulk toys?
Yeah, what's that?
Because every time the Hulk in this movie transforms, he's wearing different pants. I needed each version of the color pants. So like in the first transformation scene, his pants were brown. So I needed the Hulk with the brown pants. In the scene where he kicks fucking Blonsky across,
he's wearing
100
jeans.
Yards, he's wearing blue jeans. I needed a blue jeans version.
God,
in the final scene,
fucking
he's
made
wearing
those
black
blue jeans.
pants, and I'm like, oh my god, I need this Abomination Hulk combo set. And I'm like, buy it, fuck it. I'm like, dude, I was incredibly obsessed with this movie.
Dude, whoever manufactured those blue jeans, they're something else. I swear to God.
Oh, that is also something to be said. Like, I've heard even in the comics that like the gamma rays will turn his pants purple, and I hate that. That's like so fucking stupid.
That's like that really elaborate Clark Kent shit, where like in the comics they have this very like weird elaborate thing of like he can actually, as a Kryptonian, hunch himself and slightly alter his form.
I don't hate that. But I like to think that it's something he would actually just hunch over, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it would be like a Kryptonian thing, you know?
Just don't put an emphasis on the fact that you're jacked as fuck.
No, you're gonna hunch over and try and hide your body. You know? Like, don't make it something more than it has to be.
Yeah.
But I do get where you're coming from.
Yeah, but is that all that needs to be said about Incredible Hulk? Or
I think so. I definitely feel we said our 2 cents on the Incredible Hulk.
Did we even talk much about
Mark Ruffalo?
No, I mean like Edward Norton's performance. I mean,
yeah, I mean it was. I definitely don't like it more than Eric Bana's performance. I do think he does portray him well as Bruce Banner, but also he doesn't feel like a scientist.
No, not really.
Like Bill Bixby, he felt like a fucking scientist.
He kind of just feels like a volunteer for whatever the fuck the military was offering.
Like, it felt like he was a volunteer and now he's on the run.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that'd be fine if you actually made it that, but you made him Dr. Bruce Banner.
Because in the plot, you could probably entirely write out that he was a scientist and say that he got all of his tips on the cures from Mr. Blue.
Exactly. Like, I'm going to be honest. Like, even him doing, like, the science-y stuff, like the whole like science montage where he's trying to make a cure and it doesn't work in the beginning of the movie, like even
that's what I'm saying, because at the beginning he's also conversing back and forth with Mr. Blue. You could cut out entirely his own theories and just have Mr. Blue send him ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would rather it be that then. Oh, have you heard about the cut scene that was supposed to be the beginning of this movie?
I think I know what you're talking
So
about. I think.
they do it in the Incredible Hulk game. So it's something where pretty much he goes out into the wilderness, maybe in Alaska, Canada, somewhere like that, and he goes up, just like gets away from everything because he
Yeah.
doesn't see an end to it. They reference it.
Oh, he
in,
puts the gun in his mouth
he
and
puts
tries
the
to
gun
kill
in his
himself.
mouth.
They reference that in the Avengers.
That's an actual scene that they shot in the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
And someone did actually add it into the movie, like they spliced it in with the rest of the movie, and I do actually prefer the movie starting out like that. I think it sets the tone for trying to understand at least Bruce Banner as a character a little bit more.
Yeah, because at the beginning he's like, not that he's like come to terms with it, but more like I have to deal with this, as opposed to like, I mean, people probably would ask, why wouldn't you just fucking end it all? I mean, sure, you could be that nitpicky, like, oh, well, obviously he won't die from that. The Hulk won't let him. But
Right.
like, he seems like he's almost like come to terms at the beginning with like, I have to manage this now, get rid of it.
Exactly. And you don't see that. And I feel like you do need to see that. I feel
Yeah.
like just at least getting that visual cue of, oh, hey, he tried to kill himself, but the Hulk stopped him.
Yeah.
Like, the Hulk's not going to let him die. And that is something in the comics, too, where, like, I believe there was something where, like, it was pretty much like Armageddon on Earth, and the Hulk was the only one left on the Earth.
That's the Old Man Logan thing. Oh, no. But he is part of that.
Yes, but so in this, he's just the last man on Earth, and pretty much every time, like, Bruce starts starving to death or something like that, he'd fall over, and then the Hulk would change,
And then go
do something,
Go get him food or something.
go
Feed
do
himself.
something, and then keep him alive because
Yeah.
he's like, you don't deserve that. And then after a while, like just the consciousness of Bruce left. Like it just like after a while, he just kind of just dwindled away until he just couldn't do it anymore, and then the Hulk just fucking stayed. And I love the idea of that.
It'd be more of an interesting struggle to see, because technically, wouldn't you need a lot of fucking calories and a lot of like energy to turn into the Hulk, just on a genetic level? What if he did try to starve himself out and the Hulk tries to fight it, but is like, no, we're gonna fucking starve to death, you bitch, and now you don't have enough energy.
If the Hulk, like, but I think that's also the thing is like, even like what I said before about like the Hulk using other emotions to feed it into anger and use it for
and
himself.
then just coax himself out. Yeah.
So I think that is kind of the reason why he can't do that, which, I mean, if he could, he probably would.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think this kind of does lead into Mark Ruffalo, because he is the one who references this kind of whole gunshot killing scene in Avengers. But I like Mark Ruffalo's portrayal of Bruce Banner and I guess the Hulk, but after a while, I don't like where it leads to.
No.
They kind of do Professor Hulk, but I was never a fan of Professor Hulk.
You mean leading it in as far as like the Mark Ruffalo lead in,
Yeah.
right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, just like I just don't like where they leave it off, and they don't give us enough of a transition between him in Avengers Infinity War and then Endgame, him just being Professor Hulk. I don't think they earned that.
I think we can then transition into the Mark Ruffalo Hulk, and I'm just gonna jump ahead a little bit to the Professor Hulk stuff you're referencing.
Yeah.
I don't like it, not because he's intelligent and not just because he's not a rage monster anymore. I don't like it because it's not a fusion of the two. It's total bullshit how they try to explain that it's a fusion of the two, just because he's got a little attitude, and that's the Hulk side of him. It's just Banner.
It's just Mark Ruffalo.
It's just Banner, because Professor Hulk is supposed to be Bruce and the Hulk coming to terms and
It's
being
the
a fuse
best of both
and
worlds.
being a fusion of both their personalities. But in the movie, it's nothing but Bruce Banner's personality, and they try to explain that the Hulk side of him is like the confidence, the cockiness, the little bit of snippy anger and attitude. But that's not the Hulk. That's just him being confident in himself because look at what I've achieved. I can control it. That's not the Hulk. That's just his own confidence.
Exactly. And I really wish they would have, like, I don't know, portrayed it differently, or at least just give us enough time to develop that character.
Yeah.
Other than just giving us 5 years later, whatever the hell it was, and then being like, hey, I'm the Hulk. Dab.
That was
so dumb.
That was one thing that I wish they would have kept in Infinity War, but they cut out. Because did you see the alternate ending of
where he
there's
turns
a bunch
into
of
the Smart Hulk?
yeah,
because
there was gonna be like a compromise where at the end Hulk's like, fine, I'll come out. But then Bruce is also kind of there, and then they're kind of like, it's the beginning of it. They're like, oh, what the fuck? Like, Bruce, you're still here. We got to figure this out.
So I think I remember kind of the dialogue between them. It's like, well, do you want to die, Hulk? And he's like, no. And then he's like, well, I don't want to die either.
So
and then it's like, okay, then let's do this.
It's like a weird momentary truce that then opens the opportunity of like, okay, now this is a plot point that we can lead into the next one.
And it would have helped a lot more.
And then there's even like a haha moment where Hulk goes up to Black Widow and he's like, no, you don't need to do the lullaby. And she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I think that would have actually, I mean, there was a lot happening in Infinity War. I get why they cut it out. But again, you're also why, and also here's the thing, why don't they make like extended cuts or like anything that would actually like improve the story and actually make you want to buy a DVD?
The thing, like, do you think it was better that he doesn't turn into Hulk at the end? Because like, I think what they mentioned that they were going for was the fact that like
they wanted Bruce to fight for himself.
I think it was more like, oh, like, under no circumstances would Hulk come out, so this is more of a journey of like Bruce having to learn how to actually solve his own problems without him, and that's part of his character development. But
I get it, but also that's kind of unsatisfying.
It was very unsatisfying, but there's also so much going on in that movie.
It's
hard to like by the end of it be like, shucks, the Hulk's subplot really killed it for me.
And I mean, at the time, I'm not gonna lie, like I loved the movie, but again, that was like my biggest problem is that they did the Hulk dirty.
Yeah,
like that was, and see, the thing is like, clear. I don't know if this episode has told you anything about the Hulk, but I fucking love the Hulk.
Yeah, not to mention Endgame, how they just kind of cuck him as like a background character in the final fight. You just see him taking out random enemies while like they focus on the big three of Hulk.
I think the only thing that I do like is that they try and make him hold up what, I forget what it is, but like he's holding up like a bunch of debris.
Support, yeah.
And I think that was supposed to be a reference to when Hulk held up a mountain when they were fighting.
And they give him an important role with the gauntlet, but like, it feels so not as impressive in comparison to like Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man, who are literally taking on Thanos.
Exactly. Like, why not well, and that's also the thing is like,
it's like, yeah, you have the important role, just not the very cool and glamorous role in the film.
Yeah, and I get it. It's like, and he says that it's like I was made for this. Were you really? You were a genetic mistake by by your own fault.
I wanted to see, and I know a lot of people wanted to see, it was a rematch between Hulk and Thanos, with Hulk being smart and intelligent in a fight now, and
I think
that didn't deliver at all. So
I would love to have seen that fight. Like, they started it in Infinity War and they didn't like do a payoff of that, and I'm kind of sad about it.
Yeah, a lot of people I remember wanted to see that. And it just didn't happen. It's like, oh, okay, it didn't happen.
But yeah.
Oh well.
I mean, I don't really know where Hulk's story goes after Infinity War because I haven't watched
fucking
She-Hulk.
knows? He's become background character numbers
at
this point.
I'm so sad that at least studios think that the Hulk can't actually work on his own.
He's kind of turned into, well, I want to say Superman, but now they are making a Superman movie, a new one. So they're making a reboot.
We gotta talk about that, man.
Yeah.
Have you seen the fucking picture, man?
I have seen it. We can get into that another time.
Oh man, I am so pissed.
Anyways, I don't have the energy to be upset with DC anymore. They've been digging their own grave for a long time.
You want to know what I'm mad about? I'm mad that fucking James Gunn is the head of this. He hires a Marvel Studio costume designing company to do the Superman costume, and they fuck it up.
I don't even. Again, I'm not super. You can't.
I'm being mean. I'm being mean right now.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a full picture of the costume.
Okay.
But
I can't. I just don't have the energy to diss DC anymore because it's not worth it.
It isn't.
They don't listen to anything. Who cares at this point? It's like, it'll be like, hey, DC, that kind of fucking sucks. Okay, we'll try to do better. It sucks. Or, I mean, they'll say they try to do better. Or it'll be like, we'll reboot it. Okay, that sucks too.
I just can't wait until James Gunn tries to do the same thing that Zack Snyder's tried to do, and then they fucking do the same thing to him.
I'm not even gonna stay on DC. We gotta talk about that another time.
We can talk about that another time. I think we definitely said our two-piece on at least Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. Well, do you have anything else to say?
I mean, it seems like we only just kind of went over the end of his story. Is there anything?
Well, the thing is like
or...
his beginning is Edward Norton. We talked about Edward
I guess,
Norton.
yeah.
And then we kind of, I mean, I don't know. He is, again, they treat him as a side character in the Avengers movies, and I mean, we could talk. What do you think about his fucking love interest relationship with
Black Widow?
Black Widow.
It was a very obvious product of what was his name? Who was the one who made the Avengers 1 and 2?
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon. He has a very big thing for making a lot of love triangle complications and love interests where it doesn't really need to be, and I think that was just a product of his directing where he always has to add some romance into it.
I'm pissed that Betty Ross is not a thing.
Yeah, how she's just gone.
Like, originally Betty Ross was one of the only people that could transform the Hulk back into Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
And I think that does say something about about Betty and Bruce's relationship, but ultimately, like, why not have that? Like, not a Bonnie and Clyde thing. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But like, at least like, I like the idea that someone can actually tame the Hulk.
Yeah, and I don't know. They wanted to fill the void with a love interest that he can't have with Betty, because why are they going to tie her into the story when you have another female character right there?
Exactly.
But
isn't it wild that Black Widow in that movie is pregnant?
Yeah, and then they CG'd her bump out that was starting to show partway through filming.
That was so wild.
But no, I mean, yeah, honestly, I don't know. I thought maybe we should cover something about his earlier performances, but
other than that, there's Thor. When he was in Thor fucking Ragnarok.
At least they were trying something different. I didn't mind that leap of intelligence.
I don't know. I didn't like it. I thought it's... Listen, I think there's either two ways you can portray the Hulk. Either he's going to be like Hulk smash, Hulk bash, or he's going to be silent and just a rage monster. I'd prefer him just to be a rage monster.
Yeah, well, in the end, we all know that the best Hulk is from Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yes, bro. You know this. You know it. Dude, I love Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
That is such a good show.
And I love that. You know what? I think we might need to make a part 2 to this Hulk. Because we haven't even talked about like the animated interpretations of it. That I do think do some solid work with Hulk.
What about the really fucking like gray, not Joe Fixit, but the very like grayish, pissy one that lifts Thor's hammer in that one animated series?
The Ultimate
The one
Avengers?
the one that like eats people or something.
So yeah, that's the Ultimate Avengers. So in the animated movie, he's the only version of the Hulk to actually lift up Thor's hammer, and I think the only way that it worked is that Thor was calling it, and he kind of used him calling it to lift it up and throw it back at Thor. Yeah, that's what he does. And I love that interpretation of the Hulk. He's a fucking cannibal. And the thing is...
cannibal meaning he eats humans, right?
Okay. That's it. So in Ultimate Hulk versus Wolverine, they pretty much Hulk's trying to like get away from all this stuff, and these people are making fun of Bruce for being a vegetarian.
Okay.
So the Hulk then, he gets mad and he transforms into Hulk, eats these people, eats a bunch of lambs in this farm, and then runs off. So I found that hilarious. That like,
dude, imagine like a horror themed Hulk film where
it would work.
Instead of like being the action movie like, oh no, he's trashing the building, send him military. Instead, it's like a creepy domestic thing where he's just like a fucking monster in the neighborhood and he's just fucking mauling people.
Be terrifying. I would love that idea.
That'd be awesome.
I think like a Brightburn Hulk.
Yes, I I know that if people did it with multiple franchises, it would start to get old, but I would love to just see like Brightburn with a ton of different stuff.
I wish they would do
Brightburn
that.
Spider-Man.
Brightburn. Well, they tried doing Brightburn X-Men that didn't fucking work.
What was that?
New Mutants.
That's a little different though.
That's a little different.
Because that was trying to be more like a It.
Fair enough.
There was a big thing in that movie where like something keeps making their greatest fears attack them.
Oh,
and it was very
yeah,
It.
That's me not watching the movie though. So
It's also its own comic book thing, whatever.
Fair.
But no, like, yeah, I saw some concept once of like a gangly, creepy Spider-Man of like, what if he was a monster?
I think it would be cool if you did Venom like Slender Man, like make him like a long, spindly guy with tendrils.
Yeah, but
he's
yeah,
Venom.
But anyways, yeah. The you could do a Brightburn concept for any superhero thing, and I'd be down to see it.
Ultimately, though, I think it would work very well with
the Hulk. Yeah.
But yeah, you're probably gonna hear that.
It's fine. Luna's just on the scratcher.
Is there anything else that you have to say about the Hulk? I feel like I've said my 2 cents on the Hulk. I definitely got all my Hulk rage out. So.
I think I've said everything I need to say. I definitely don't have as much knowledge as you. I think that's pretty clear. But yeah, it's not something I've really gone in depth on in a very long time, or I don't know if I've ever gone this in depth on the character, but it's been fun.
Maybe once you start going through the original 70s show, you might be able to like go in depth about like the TV movies. That would be fun to go over. I know we might just cover the whole TV show as a whole, but
yeah,
doing at least the TV movies after that would be fun too.
Should I ask this last question, or do you think we should cut it off? I was going to ask, in the original one, did you know that they wanted to make him red?
Yes,
yeah.
I did know that. That was the executive producer wanted to make him red because it's the same anger, rage is red. So he went up to Stan Lee and was like...
no, like you're not doing that. No.
The reason... He's green to be green. He's supposed to be different.
Yeah, it's to stand out, not to be the obvious color of rage.
Exactly. That's why they have the Red Hulk.
Yeah, I don't know if they had it at the time, but
but
but okay. I think we're all hulked out. I think that's
we definitely need to stop talking.
Yeah,
about Hulk.
we need to stop right now. It's gone on too long.
All right. As always, our social media links and everything else is down below. And I also have a second channel, professional, whatever.
Bryce Cherney, Zellion Productions, Joe Scopo 1.
And yeah, check them out on Twitch too. So
I stream when I can.
Also, thank you, our thumbnail artist, whoever you are.
Thumbnail artist and channel artist.
Yes, thank you.
All right. I think that's it. Y'all have a good one.
Deuces.